Coming to you live from the Business RadioX studio, it's Franchise Marketing Radio, brought to you by IDS, an award-winning digital marketing agency that delivers integrated marketing solutions for franchisors, franchisees, and franchise development teams. Learn why over 75 brands depend on IDS's team of dedicated marketers and client service professionals to deliver a strong ROI on their marketing investment. Go to idsfranchisemarketing.com for a complimentary digital audit and consultation.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Franchise Marketing Radio. I'm your host, Rob Ganley, and today we have two very special guests with us. We're going to dive into the world of senior care, but we're going to talk about the heart of what I call compassionate entrepreneurship within the senior care industry. And so joining us today are two new business owners, franchise owners from Senior Care Authority in the Southern California market. I'm going to let them tell you more specifically where they are. But I have Terri and Michael Frantz with me today. And again, we're going to dive into their experience here as they just get started. They're actually very new to the business. And we wanted to kind of capture that experience today and learn more about how things have gone and what kind of led to their decisions to starting this business. So Terri and Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great to have you. So, I always usually start with the question that says, how did you get to where you are? So what was the leading or what kind of led you over to senior care and even starting a business? I know you guys have had a long career beforehand. Maybe you could talk about that, but what kind of led to this decision to start a business in the senior care industry?
Well, I think that for us, it's the family experiences that we've had with our parents and my parents who have passed away, and got kind of seeing the journey that our family went through in that and navigating the challenges and the questions that came up as we went along with that. My wife as well with her family. And then, there was times when we felt at a loss as far as knowing where to turn to and where to go. And we know that others are facing those kind of challenges and decisions as well. And so we wanted to help others. We felt like this was a vehicle through which you'd be able to serve others and going through the same kind of experiences we have.
Also, Rob,
Yeah.
when we started looking into starting a franchise, one of the things that we were considering was the fact that what fit with our personalities and our past experiences and things like that. And we've been pastors for about 42 years. And so we've worked with seniors a lot through the years. And so when we decided to start a business, we were looking at some other options, but nothing really resonated like working with seniors. And so that's what led us in this direction.
I think that's both of you had great answers. And I think that's the important thing is having that sort of wisdom when you enter into a market. I think a lot of us look at things like you could say, I love that coffee. But, when you look at what it really is to run a business that supplies that delicious coffee, it may not fit you at all, not even close, right? And so it is important to think about that connection between who you are as a person, what you enjoy, what you really care about, and trying to make that connection. So I'm glad you guys did. And I think that is one of the keys to having that longevity and that success. So I'm glad to hear that. And for anyone listening, that's a key point. If you're thinking about starting a business, is it really, what is that day-to-day like? Who are you interacting with most of the day? What are you talking about? And so I think that's very important. And I think I could see the connection between pastoring and what the senior care industry is doing and needs to be doing even more and more into the future. So, doing this is a big decision, right? You said, well, we did this for 42 years. We were doing similar things. Now you're kind of jumping into business ownership, but I still see the connection big time in terms of service and helping people. But, it was a big decision. And, was there something that kind of convinced you that this was the right mission from the industry and where things were headed with senior care? Was there something like that helped you make the decision as well?
I think that, our backgrounds really helped to let us know that it was a good fit for us. we did look at some other options. We considered some other vehicles, franchises and stuff. And this one just seemed to fit the best. Like Terri said, our pastoring background, we worked with a lot of seniors. Obviously, the senior population makes up a lot of the church. And so we were, working with them in a lot. And then also, I am a chaplain in a skilled nursing facility. And so I'm working with seniors there and the elderly and those meeting health challenges and so on. And we've also been missionaries to Mexico. So there's Spanish-speaking contribution that we can bring to the table as well. So I think all of those things, it really helped us to know that this was a good fit and something we would love doing.
I love that.
And when it comes to choosing the type of franchise, when we started interviewing with Senior Care Authority and meeting virtually with the different leaders of the company, we were very, very impressed, and we loved their heart for seniors. And one thing that really impressed us was the fact that there's such a high satisfaction rate with the franchisees. They're satisfied with what they're doing, and that appealed to us.
Yeah, that's a good point, because all franchises would have that path where you could talk to existing franchisees. I like the way you said that, though. I was thinking you were going to say the franchise had a lot of positive reviews from the customers, which I know the brand, so there is. But you said something different. You said the franchisees were satisfied. And I think that's important for anyone to kind of zero in on. And I think those existing connections, like you already have an audience where you are interacting with seniors and you're already in it. You probably already were indirectly doing the job a little bit, right? Trying to help people. But, it's having a more structured way to be that guiding light when there needs to be a solution, right? So you talked about the nursing home. I'm thinking that, right? It's probably things have come up. You solve problems. You're trying to help. But now you have a more structured way maybe to specifically help. And that's good. But that's great that you had those connections ahead of time. So we did say early on in the show that you guys are just getting started, right? And what an amazing background and heart you have. But obviously getting started in business is new and there's a lot of stuff flying at you. Tell me how that's been. What does that feel like? Any lessons learned? Any insight on that?
There was a lot to learn. We spent the first several months just studying and learning as much as we could and getting some certifications. One of the things that I learned that because my husband had recently gone through applying for Medicare, and I will be this year, and there is a lot of challenges in trying to make the choices you have to make with the Medicare. And it was very, very informative to me in the training to learn how to make those choices and what's a good way to make them and things like that. One of the things that I was blessed to do was one of my very first clients that called me for a consultation wanted help with making Medicare decisions. And I was excited because I had been through that training and I knew what kind of answers to give. And so that was a fun thing. It's also just a challenge to help people find ways to pay for the care as we age. I did not know that it's more costly if you need a lot of care to have in-home care than it is to go into assisted living. That was an interesting thing for me to find out. That it gets very expensive if you need a lot of care to have that in-home care. So, that makes assisted living look like a better option for a lot of people. Yeah.
I know that's in some ways a cultural thing, right? I know you mentioned Spanish and that's interesting. And I mean, the point is this, I don't think anyone wants to move from their house most of the time. And so to keep them there 24/7, that's where the expense is. It's like, it's not so much, it's just that you have to have an eye on them, right? And I think that's the big shift there. But you're right. I think if you need, by the time you would be better off in an assisted living, it's probably seems like it would be hard to keep them at home, right? It'd be expensive. So that's interesting. And that's a great insight. And yeah, look, already early in business, you're starting to get momentum and say, I'm becoming this professional. And I think that's what's kind of interesting to point out about franchising. I love the connection. I think that's important, the synergy. But you can learn new professions pretty quickly. It's one of the best ways to learn is to do. And you're like building your own case study. You're building a business to learn how to be a professional in a particular business. So that's interesting. I love that learning of becoming a senior care advisor, but running a business to do so, right? You're not working with anyone. You're doing it yourself. And I think there's a lot of learnings that come very quickly in a condensed period of time. What do you think, Michael? Is it what your sort of first year revelations or anything like that? Anything that you were like, wow, this is interesting. I didn't think that or didn't know that.
I think just there's a lot to learn, working with people, that you care for people, you love people, and that's something, as a pastor and as someone working with elderly people that comes with the territory. But just so much to learn as far as, how the business works, learning the intricacies of how it all goes together. For me, it just, it was a lot, there was a franchise model is a lot to learn, and so it was a lot.
Yeah, like I said, it's like a PhD. I'd say it's a PhD. You're doing all the things. You're learning. Like if you're in college, you're learning, but you're actually like an intern at the same time. And then, you're also involved in the strategy and the vision. And so it is a lot, right? All at once. Until you're in it, you don't experience something like that. It's not just learning how to be a senior care advisor, in other words.
One thing, Rob, that you said something about that you're in business by yourself, but one of the beauties of being in a franchise is that you're truly not in business by yourself. So yes, this is our business. Yes, we're our own boss. However, when we have questions, we have someone we can turn to. And I love that factor about being in a franchise.
Yes, I could go on and on.
For me, something else for me was the value of networking, not only with outside referral sources and so on, but just networking within the franchise senior care authority franchisees themselves, and how the connections, the relationships help to contribute to our benefit, understanding, and learning the whole model. It really helped me.
Yeah, you guys are saying some really amazing things. I don't know if the average person that's not involved in franchising understands, but first side is that you are part of a network. And, we had this podcast show back during COVID, and I remember interviewing different brands, and man, it was pretty hard. But I remember thinking, man, anyone that's running one of those businesses, they are lucky to be part of a franchise right now, because they were all huddled together. They were all helping each other. They were all interacting. The franchise brands were leading, but the franchisees were stepping up because everybody had to help everybody. There was no, and so to watch that actually be tested in a way that you would never normally be able to test it, I can tell you franchising works. I mean, it is, you don't have that as a business owner, as an independent. So that was awesome to see that work, that two-way communication. But you guys also mentioned, partnering with the community, right? So I know with a lot of franchise brands, there's different models, but they, a lot of it is community involvement. So it's other organizations, it's other businesses, other professionals, and that's pretty common for business owners to network to help each other. Tell me more about how Senior Care Authority works. And from what I understand, you're partnering with medical and legal and different professionals like that. But it's not just like you're almost becoming even more powerful. To me, it's like if I were working with you and I had to solve problems, from what I understand from the brand is you guys, not only do you bring your Senior Care Authority and advisor skills and everything But you had a network around you. You mentioned earlier, one of the big things is like affording it, right? Figuring out the money part. Well, you have partners there, right? So it's a lot of that you have a network of franchisees around you, but you also have a local network around you too. Tell me more about how you're developing that. I know it's new and you're just now getting into it, but you're already big part of your community. So you just mentioned a couple connections. Tell me more about how you'll develop that.
So I've been more of the boots on the ground part of that. So I probably could answer that a little bit better. We've been partnering with professionals in our community by one of the things is I've been getting involved in every kind of networking I can, like different kinds of networking meetings. I've joined some local chambers of commerce, different things like that so that I can get out there and meet people. That's the big part of it, is meeting people. And there you're going to find a lot of those professionals that you need to partner with. I've been able to find some referral partners for things like, you don't even think of this, things like moving planners to help them plan, to help them if they're going to be, of course, you need a realtor to help them if they're going to sell their house. You need a lawyer if they're needing help in preparing things like wills and trusts. You need transport companies if they need help getting from point A to point B. So there are so many different kinds of professionals, and the way to meet them is to get out there and network. And so I've been doing a lot of that. The bonus to that too is as you're out there meeting people and getting to know them, they're getting to know me, which helps me then when they know of people that need my services. And so it is definitely a referral type marketing. And so I've been working hard to get out there and learn people, learn what they do, and help them to know what I do. Yeah.
And I think and again, I know the industry too, as well, as you know. And one of the things that I constantly am reminded of, and I've had people on this show too, from other brands that work in senior care, some in-home companies. One company was protecting homes with advanced security and technology. What I hear from all the brands is awareness is such a big thing still. Like, you wouldn't think that. You would be like, well, isn't it obvious? But unless you're in it, like you guys had mentioned earlier, where you had your parents, dealt with things, and I know me too, and many of our franchisees here at Senior Care Authority go through that, right? But you don't realize that for the everyday person, they're not even thinking about it. And for whatever reason, there's a massive awareness issue. So one thing I do realize is that you guys are working together. It's like you're partnering with this network of folks that have seniors as clients, but you're all banding together because this thing is coming towards us, right? This demand, an increased demand. And it's always amazing to me that awareness is the biggest issue. But tell me a little bit more about that partnership that you might have with, an organization. I mean, isn't creating awareness one of the big things you guys are trying to help do locally?
Yeah, it is. And so I do a lot of one-to-ones with people in different industries where I sit down and I ask them, what works for you and what you're doing, and how can I help you, and how can you help my clients? Right. And so that's been really good. Another thing I've been doing is I've been making a point to get out there and actually visit the assisted living homes and communities and the memory care homes and communities, because I won't refer one of my clients to somebody if I've never been there and I don't know what kind of a place they're going to be referred to. So I'm getting to know the owners of these places and the kind of programs that they have to offer, and whether or not they, can help with things like if somebody's needing help with transferring from one place to another. And, those are all important things that you don't think of, but those are all things that you need to know about a home before you refer a client there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, to me, again, I always think about business models, right? I'm kind of geeky that way. Like, how does it all fit together? And I love business models. Like, to me, it's like there's a couple things going on here. I like when you do one thing and it's many things at once. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Like, when you're networking, not only is the opportunity that you can interact to help them and generate maybe a referral that's very valuable, but you become a greater advisor a very valuable advisor to someone, because who wants to deal with 8 different situations, right? I got to deal with the lawyer. I got to deal with the financial person. I got to deal with this. I got to deal with the movers, and there's all kinds of questions at every turn. Whereas you can have a quarterback, someone who's totally accountable, right, to drive that forward. And that's what you do, right? Isn't that? And I feel like that is a great innovative business model, because that it kind of builds your product and helps you help your client and build that momentum. But at the same time, you're helping the other companies and their clients, and you're helping each other. So I love that you're doing multiple things at once and creating awareness at the same time. But tell me, do you have any events planned, any thoughts about like any kinds of education that you think would be important to share with some of these audiences, like a law firm's employees or an association or church, right? You guys obviously have that network. Tell me what you think would be important to share.
Well, we're planning a market launch event, and that's scheduled in May. So we're going to invite doctors and eldercare professionals and eldercare givers, and we're going to feature our Beyond Driving with Dignity program creator that is Matt Gurwell, and he's going to give a presentation on the subject of seniors and driving safety. And so we're looking into possibly featuring maybe another community leader that can speak to the issue that relates to senior living and care needs. And then, we also, there's a church that's going to have us give a presentation at one of their morning breakfasts where the seniors are all gathered together and stuff. So we've got things like this coming up that we're working on and planning for.
Yeah. Also, I recently became a volunteer with the Alzheimer's Association. And I went through their training, and I'm scheduled to help as a trainer in some of their upcoming free events. So they do regular training on things like the 10 warning signs of dementia and things like that. So I'm going to be helping them with those. And as I help with those, then it helps my clients and my referral network sources. And as they say that in order to be a teacher, you have to stay a step ahead and learn. So by teaching these things myself, I'm learning even more myself, and I'm always going to be a learner in that sense.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's that's kind of the exciting thing in a way of working for yourself, and I say for yourself in a franchise, but you do have that autonomy, but that is what a professional is, right? You have to kind of go get it. You have to be proactive. But I just love that there's so many ways for you guys to network and interact, and really rely on that mechanism, because that is, how do I say it? Like, it's stable. Like that, I think people are always going to do what we do. We work together. We like to work together, help each other. And when we think about marketing, I will tell you that the technology world's interesting. I'm very much, as you guys know me a little bit, I have a technology consulting background and things, but I feel like things there always change, right? And there's also a big reliance on things you don't control. So I don't like that when a business model is heavy or too heavy in one way, right? And I like diversity and the ability to create a lot of income streams in a way, right? So really these connections that you're building are, in a way, income streams. And that gives you the ability to kind of build, I think the analogy is to like have a stool with 4 legs on it, right? Stools don't work good if it's only 3, right? Or you pull one of the legs out. So it's good to have stability in a business. And that's what it sounds like you're explaining to me. So you talked a little bit about, hosting events and, heightening awareness. Is there any other thoughts that you had about the local market you're in? Is there anything unique about it that you thought, well, this will help with awareness or need that you see? Anything else?
Our local market, we happen to be in the California Central Coast. Yeah. And pardon my allergies. The area has a high senior population because it's a popular retirement community. So, and that age demographic is even growing. So these are important topics for people in our community to learn. And I think that we provide a valuable resource for them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the only path forward we have. We know that folks are aging, and we have a large population of aging folks. So the demand is only going to inch up every year that passes from here on out. So, yeah, I'm glad you're there. And I know that they'll be glad too as people start to know you. So before we wrap everything up, I kind of wanted to get both of you to give your take on, and this is important, and it just comes from your heart and sort of maybe your mind and heart. But where do you see your business going? A lot of your decision making to start the business also has sort of that end game in mind, I would think, right? But where do you see your future? What are some of the goals you have for your business? And I'll let each of you kind of wrap up. And is there any advice you might have for anyone else that might be considering pursuing the senior care industry?
Well, for me, I think, Rob, that, we want to provide it. Our goal is to provide a safe place for seniors and their families where they can, feel like they have a confidant that can help them navigate the decisions and challenges they're facing, just as we face those. And we want to provide real solutions that benefit our senior community when it comes to where to live, being safe, and having their needs cared for. And we want to reach every senior and their family that we can by networking and by building trust in our brand and trust in who we are as individuals, so people get to know us. And we feel like, in doing that, those relationships will contribute to helping others. So that's what I desire.
Yeah, I think both of us have a heart for seniors. I just love being around seniors. And so I think that having that heart for seniors, our goal is to help people, obviously. One of the things that affected me was a little over a year ago, my mom passed, but she was had a stroke and was paralyzed for the last year of her life. We were very blessed that two of my sisters were able to move in with her, and then the others of us helped her, here and there when we could. But because of that, we were able to keep her home. But there were so many questions and things that, you don't know where to reach out for this and who to talk to about that. And so that's something where I wish we had known somebody that did something like Senior Care Authority at that time. It would have helped so much to have somebody like that on our side for advice. And so that's what we want to do, to be a source of that for others, so that their path, their road can be smoother.
Yeah. Is there you guys have any advice for anyone that might have been in your shoes a year ago, or they might be where you were a year ago or 2 years ago? Any thoughts about, any advice, any tips, any input?
Well, I think that a big part of it is to really do your research. If you're looking into a franchise, know who you are, what your background is, what your interests are, and do your research. Because if you find something like we did that just resonates and really fits, it's going to help a lot when those hard times come and struggles, because it's just going to help you get through it. And you're going to love what you do rather than be feeling like it's a drudge.
Right. Love it. Yes. What do you think, Michael? I think you have a similar answer.
Totally. You got to love what you do, and you got to know who you are, and, what will work well. If someone's questioning, for some decisions, and get some advice from, either your clergy or your advisor, of, your friend who can, maybe help you along, maybe even someone who deals with franchises and has some knowledge about that. And I think that can go a long way as helping to make the decision.
No doubt. Well, it's been great having you guys both on here. I love the journey of business growth. So thank you for being willing to be on the show. I know it's new for you guys, but I know in a year we could talk again and we'll have some great news stories to share and another perspective, and maybe 5 years from now, even another one, right? As the journey continues. But thank you for that. I know for a lot of people, it's good to kind of get that, what does it feel like that first year? Because there's a lot you go through. And I can only say that I can relate that it's a lot all at once. But as you said before, you've got a team around you, and that's good. And that's good for the world, because I do, again, certain brands are doing great work in the world, and this is one of them. And I appreciate you guys. Thanks for being on the show. And I know seniorcareauthority.com, right? Did you want to share your direct website with the audience?
Yes,
it's in case
seniorcareauthority.com/S as in Sam, L as in Louis, O for SLO, slow. So that's, yeah.
I love it. All right. seniorcareauthority.com/slow. And you have your connection with the answers you need. If you have any concern about senior care, assisted living, or anything of that nature. So
for sure.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much for having us today, Rob.
Yeah, thank you, Rob.
You got it.
Enjoyed it.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks.